Good morning, dear friends, colleagues, followers of homeopathy. I'm so glad to start this Global Homeopathic Summit. I feel that this is the right place and the right time. In spite of the fact that we started to prepare this summit about 1 year ago, but today the topics of the summit and what we are going to bring to the homeopathic society and to humanity is very actual, very to the point. And what we have to tell, to give, to bring, to share will be done by the very long list of leading homeopaths from all around the world. And I'm very glad to cooperate with all of them. I think that today our world needs, first of all, peace and love. And I remember a quote of Roland Goethe. He's one of our speakers. He said that once homeopath has to become a homeopathic remedy. First of all, I believe that our summit is going to be a very good homeopathic remedy for the world and for the people who needs it, who need everything we will bring so desperately. So welcome to the Global Homeopathic Summit, and it's my pleasure and the honor to introduce you Eileen Nauman. Hi, Eileen.
Hello there. How are you?
I am fine. I'm excited. I will introduce you, Eileen Nauman from United States, and she is a homeopath, writer, blogger, shaman, healer, and it will take some time to tell everything about you. And we have a very small and very important scoop to tell. Actually, Eileen Nauman is the first cousin of Princess Diana. Am I right?
Yep. I'm a ninth cousin, once removed from Diana, and about 9 generations ago, we shared a same grandparent together.
And for me, it's very important, not only because of scoop. We are not looking for the scoop, but we are going to the area when blood relationships are no more so important as a spiritual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we want to stop for a second because we have a problem with the translation. For just a second, please. And Eileen, we know that there will be some obstacles to cure, and we are ready for them. For example, this obstacle for a translation and for introduction. So we are going to bring a new knowledge and old experience together. That's why I'm very impatient to give you a word, to transfer you a mic, and let us start Global Homeopathic Summit. Please, Eileen.
Okay. I think I have an hour and a half, right?
Yeah, plus minus.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everyone to this amazing global summit. People who love homeopathy and other alternative healing tools come together to share and learn from one another. And believe me, it is an honor to be among all of you. I would like to start off this talk with a quote from Albert Einstein. He says, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift," unquote. He was talking about the right hemisphere of our brain, which is our gift. There are nerves that travel from it to the heart. The left hemisphere of our brain is our mental faculties and the servant, and it has nerves that travel to the larynx, and we're able to communicate with one another. And he's right that this world has grasped the mind's mental capabilities and forgotten the metaphysical, our heart, and the creative gifts that reside in the right hemisphere of our brain. It is connected to our heart, the seat of our emotions, and our emotional intelligence. We can see the world and the mess that it is in every once in a while because humankind has worshiped the mind and ignored the gift of the heart that makes us a compassionate and loving race instead. More on this in a moment, but hold Einstein's important quote and take it to heart because it affects all of us every day. This global summit is about imponderables, sarcodes, and evolution in homeopathy. For better or worse, I fall into the evolution homeopathic area. No matter how homeopathy is practiced, the focus has always been to utilize its dynamic healing energy to relieve pain and suffering of others, whether it's human or animal or whatever. Getting down to some basic understandings here, I need to share with you why I refer to myself as an energy homeopath. There are far more of us around the world than most people realize. In this highly unusual opening keynote speech, I will clearly detail how I have expanded the use of homeopathic remedies for my clients when called for. I was raised in a unique household. I was birthed into a metaphysical family. Meta means beyond. Physics means the unseen.
Eileen, sorry, I'm unseen now. I'm physics, and I would like to ask you to slow down a little bit, please, for translation. Is it okay?
Sure, I might run over my hour and a half, though.
Thank you very much. Okay.
All right. So, put together, metaphysics is beyond the unseen and means that our two eyes cannot see the invisible that surrounds us. I've always said that most people on Earth lead 50% lives by using only the left hemisphere of our brain. Metaphysics comprises the other 50%, posited in the right hemisphere of our brain. And most of us are not aware of it and do not consciously utilize it. This is the gift that Einstein was talking about. If a person consciously decides to utilize both sides of their brain, then we're actually using 100% of our human abilities and skills. I refer to these people as whole-brained. Just as imponderables such as microwaves, electricity, magnetism, and gravity are all invisible or intangible, they have a powerful and profound everyday effect upon us, though we can't see them. But they work nevertheless, and we think nothing of it. However, our unseen portion of our metaphysical and creative life that are posited in our right hemisphere also lives in invisibility, but has no less effect upon us either. In fact, gives us more ways to navigate as a human being. I don't know about you, but I rather be whole-brained than only operate with only half a brain. Who wouldn't want to have more skills available to all of us than less? More ideas, more inventiveness, more creativity. Let's dig into the right hemisphere of our brain and rummage around in it. Humans possess intuition, which is one of the skills residing in the right hemisphere portion of our brain. And most people heed this inner voice we all possess. I would say that most of you, at some point in your lives, have listened to your inner voice and lived to tell about it. Or it kept you out of some kind of trouble or danger as a result. Intuition is our quote unquote early warning system. And it is one of many tools we have. I see the right hemisphere as our treasure chest that can be utilized for the good of all, including yourself. Intuition may also send you a message of what if kind of curiosity as it pokes at you consciously to go investigate an idea or something more thoroughly. Intuition is our GPS or inner guidance. Men are left hemisphere dominant, and those skills are in organizing, orderliness, sequencing, linear thinking, mathematics, problem solving, facts, analysis, reason, science, reality, strategy, control, and logic. They do have issues with reading and writing, changes in speech. Learning other languages is difficult for them, and poor communication in general. Most important in a positive sense, in my opinion, is that the left hemisphere enables humans to manifest and build structures here in our 3D or third dimensional world. There are also some male scientists who are whole-brained, and they are utilizing a number of skills from the right hemisphere of our brain as well. Einstein was one of them. Women are right brain dominant. This side is concerned with feelings, emotional intelligence, spatial tasks such as brushing one's hair, creating a sculpture, packing a lunch, navigating, etc. Creativity of every kind happens here. The ability to visualize something, imagination, rhythm, holistic thinking, and all the arts. And this is where our energy tools, which is unseen, resides. Our thoughts are energy. Our emotions are energy. We live and are surrounded by many types of energy, all unseen, yet taking part in our daily lives. Whole-brained people see differently. And Albert Einstein is a good example of this. He saw the whole picture, not half of it. Another example is Nassim Haramein, a quantum physicist of today, who has the same curiosity and overview because he is a whole-brained visionary. He's bringing information about gravity right now and is going where no one, scientifically speaking, has gone before. I'm sure we will be hearing shortly about what he has discovered about gravity as a result. These unseen gift processes are all about energy, vibration, and frequency out of our right hemisphere. Wouldn't you be curious about the half that's not being used by most humans? The gift that Einstein was referring to. He was a great scientist of the mind, which he calls the servant. But few really understood he was also equally using his right hemisphere of his brain and is our gift. I opened up this summit with his words because they do not ring hollow. He knew a lot, more than what he spoke about to his fellow scientists. He used both sides of his brain and is a beautiful example of a wholly functioning human being who is capable of doing it. Look at the amazing gifts he has left us as a result. I'm not saying we are all Einsteins. What I am saying is that most of humanity is utilizing only half of what is there to be used freely and positively by including the other half. By being whole-brained, we can create and produce and share what comes through our heart, which is primary and is our gift. The mind is our servant, was designed to put the world into order and manifest what is needed for our third dimensional existence where we all live on a daily basis. Your contributions would be so much more, helping all beings in this world as a result of what comes through you, what you know, experienced, and share as a result. Wouldn't you like to be a fully functioning person at 100%? Let me share a story with you as we rummage through the parameter of our gifts. My father came from the 11th generation of his medicine lineage in his family tree via the Powhatan Nation. This Native American nation is located in the coastal Virginia area of the US. It consisted of a group that was inhabited by Powhatan Native Americans and Algonquin speaking people in this state, although back then it was called a colony. The Powhatans were comprised of 30 or so tribal groups with a total population of about 14,000 people. In every generation of my father's side of the family, one child was chosen to carry on the medicine that came through his DNA lineage. And for those of you who are DNA or genealogists and history buffs, DNA-wise, I am the first cousin of Pocahontas, 12 times removed, which means 12 generations. And she was a Powhatan princess whose father led that nation in the 1600s. Look her up on the internet to know more about her history. When I was struck by lightning, which, by the way, is an imponderable, at age 9, my father chose me to carry on this skill for the 12th generation. Medicine, by Native American definition, means a healing method of some kind. I began training immediately, 5 days a week, every night after I finished my schoolwork. My father instructed me on what he had been taught. I didn't realize the training had another name other than medicine until I was 23 years old. A paperback book in a metaphysical bookstore in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, flew off the shelf and landed at my feet. I picked it up. I knew enough that when a synchronistic event like this happens, that it was something I should pay attention to. I bought the book and I read it. I was amazed. What my father had taught me was also known as shamanism by other countries around the world. My mother, Ruth, was an Irish-English druid. Her skills were being clairvoyant, just as my father was. And she was a hands-on healer. In the 18 years I was at home, I saw a medical doctor only 3 times. My mother was also a family lineage herbalist, and her kin came to America in 1703 and also landed in Virginia. We used herbs as medicine, and it brought us to adulthood with the plant nation's help. And our mother was our hands-on healer doctor. At age 9, I was drawn to their bookcase that was filled with metaphysical, philosophical, and religious books. I did not understand everything I read, of course, but I reread these books several times at different points of growing up, and they made more and more sense to me each time. Some of the authors were Rudolf Steiner, Helen Blavatsky, who created the Theosophical Society in America, Annie Besant, Alice Bailey, and many other metaphysical leaders. I also read the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Egyptian Book of the Dead, plus the Holy Bible and Greek mythology by Robert Graves, and a lot of other books, including topics on psychic abilities, numerology, and astrology. I was steeped in the world of metaphysics, and my thirst for knowledge was filled. I learned energy anatomy that no one could see unless they were psychic or clairvoyant. At age 13, I was struck a second time by lightning. This occurred at our junior high school as I was running from my art class to get to my math class. It was a clear blue day with no hint of stormy weather in the area. That bolt of lightning tore through the roof of the school, hit the top of my head, and it went clear down my body, down both my legs, and out my feet. My books I was carrying went flying, and so did I. I was tossed 6 feet into the air, slamming into a tall group of metal lockers. I had rolled in the air and struck the lockers with my backside, which took the bulk of the hit. I bent 3 of the 6 lockers. Such was the force of it. I didn't remember much that day. I refused to go to the nurse who was on staff, but chose instead to sit in the back of my classes, desperate to remember who I was. At first, I didn't know where I was or anything else. As the day wore on, I became coherent and aware once more of what I call the here and now. I began seeing things clairvoyantly shortly afterwards. Now I saw the same things that my parents could see. The lightning bolt turned on the right hemisphere of my brain, our gift, our treasure chest of psychic and creative tools. We all have this marvelous toolkit. It's not special. Everyone has it. The question is whether a person uses it or not, or if they were trained to utilize it like I was. And no, you don't have to be struck by lightning to work with these different tools. Let me give you an example from our gift. Most people are familiar with intuition, or what we call our gut hunch here in the USA. Intuition is aligned with our heart, with love, and is our inner voice that many of us feel, sense, and will follow. Intuition is but one tool in that right hemisphere of our brain. Its specialty is energy and includes the use of some of the following: hands-on healing, psychometry, dowsing, crystal healing, gemstone therapy, telepathy, telekinesis, which is the ability to move something, or becoming a visionary, or a person who has precognitive dreams. These are dreams about the future that happen. There is lucid dreaming, where you wake up in the middle of the dream and are fully conscious about it. And other skills like flying, which is actually what we call astral traveling, and levitation are among some of the other gifts. I also include homeopathy, acupuncture, and the Chinese meridians as examples of using pure energy to heal with. To say the least, I was a kid who was trained up to work with the unseen energies that surround us, and to be able to see the other dimensions that also intersect or are around our 3D or third dimensional world that we live in. I was, in my parents' eyes, a whole-brained person. I thought nothing of it because my parents were also, and said it was normal to be this way. In order to see into the invisible realms, we must awaken and open our third eye or brow chakra, which is located in the center of everyone's forehead. That eye enables us to see the invisible worlds and all that goes on in them. Imagine my surprise after I left home at 18 for the military that no one had abilities turned on like I did. So I kept quiet about it. I had spirit guides. Christians and Muslims would call them guardian angels, who were always with me. And I telepathed back and forth with them on a daily basis. They are my friends who support me in this lifetime. Again, this was normal for me to do. Plus, I could see spirit guides around everyone else too. Sometimes I would see an ancestor, and I always found them standing behind and on the left side of the person who was with them as well. My chief guide, or CG, and by the way, you all have one, whether you know it or not, was always standing just behind me on the right side of my body. Their job was to keep me on my intended plan and path for this lifetime, and to keep me out of trouble and alive, which was easier said than done. But that's another story for another day. I began my homeopathic studies and training in the mid-1970s. I took schooling that was available where I lived in Ohio. I loved it because it was what I called energy medicine. After a certain point in creating a potency of a remedy, there is no more crude substance that can be detected in it. All it looked like was water, smelled faintly of alcohol, and then placed in an eyedropper bottle, or sprayed upon a globule, or made into a tablet form. I had a homeopathic practice near Sedona, Arizona, USA, until 1995, when the state legislators changed the law that said, quote, only medical doctors can practice homeopathy, unquote. And if someone dared call themselves a homeopath and practiced, and they were not an MD, they could be arrested and go to prison. So I shuttered my business and began writing books on homeopathy instead, based upon my decades of experience. In the early 1980s, my Western Cherokee medicine man teacher sent me to, and I'll try and be very slow about this, is Oshina Fast Wolf. And that's OH, and then SHINNAH, Fast Wolf. She was an Apache Mohawk medicine woman whose skills were with gemstones and quartz crystal healing techniques. I was always looking to expand my use of energy medicine. After a gemstone was gently placed at the bottom of a glass that was half filled with water, she would then perform a charged water ceremony. This was about energy being sent from the chakras, which are located in the middle of each of our hands. Everybody has them. And she would begin to rub her hands together very quickly, and she would visualize seeing the energy that was created, send it into the water and around the gemstone, which then released its unique vibration or frequency into water, which has memory. The water was then filled with the invisible but unique energy of the gemstone. She used gems to heal people with great success, even cancer. And she too was working with energy medicine, although she did not call it that. In 1992, I formed an internet group called the Athena List, and I taught beginning homeopathy to people who desired to use it for their families. This started a whole new chapter in my life because a lot of these people were from countries from around the world. One of my students, Gayo, Gayo, from Italy, had a 6-year-old daughter who suddenly got a spike fever of 104 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. He had no remedy kit. He was 100 miles from the closest homeopath. There was no homeopathic pharmacy near where he lived either. Desperate to help him, I told him to write on a piece of paper the size of the bottom of the glass, which I had told him to fill half full of water, and write aconite 30C. This is a well-known fever remedy, especially for spike fevers. And I'd seen many children who had had such a symptom do well on this particular remedy. Geo did what I asked, and then I told him how to charge water. He did so. I then guided him to give her a teaspoon of the aconite 30C water every 5 minutes for 3 times in a row. In 15 minutes, the temperature lowered to 102 Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. I told him to give her the charged water every 5 minutes for the next 15 minutes. At that point, her fever became normalized at 98.6 Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, and it did not return. Honestly, I don't know who was more stunned or more relieved by this unexpected event. I know I was shocked because out of desperation, I had him write the remedy on a small piece of paper and place it beneath the glass of water. This was the first time I had ever used this quickly conceived new method. Gail was relieved and grateful. For the next 8 years on Athena, everyone utilized paper remedies when they couldn't get the remedy at a homeopathic pharmacy or from a homeopathic doctor due to distances or lack of money involved. In 2005, Masaru Emoto wrote an incredible book called The Hidden Messages in Water. I read his book and the research information about the mystery of water, the memory that it contains. This harmonized with what I had been taught growing up, that water had a living, invisible spirit, that each stream, creek, river, pond, and our Mother Ocean all had at least one spirit in each waterway. Since we live near Sedona, Arizona, I used to take trout bought from a local grocery store, open up the package, and lay the fish on the bank of Oak Creek where we lived. It was my way of honoring our otter people who had a den across the way from our home. Every equinox and solstice, our trout gift was given to the spirit of the creek and to the otter family. I knew water was magical, having conversed with different water spirits from different waterways from around the world, as well as where we lived. Emoto had discovered some of water's mysterious but healing qualities and abilities. Fast forward to today. All I have to do is hold a partially filled glass with water in it and speak out loud or telepathically the name of the remedy and the potency into the water. And my Athena friends could do the same thing. We no longer needed to use paper remedies or charged water. Everything upgrades and refines itself over time. Because I'm known around the world for the book I wrote called Medical Astrology, I have clients from many foreign countries. And when they get sick, they Zoom, Skype, phone call, or email me. I will take their homeopathic case and choose a remedy for them. Now, those who do not have a homeopathic doctor or a pharmacy nearby, I then telepath the remedy and send it energy-wise to them. I always start out with a 30C, which is a mild introduction to a person's vital force. The reason? I don't want an aggravation to occur, and it certainly can at a 200C and above in my experience. And if I get the desired result of the 30C, I then have my client get a half a glass of water and either speak the remedy in potency out loud into it, or telepath it into the glass of water themselves. We continue at that potency until indicated otherwise. My next upgrade came when Peter Chappell, an English homeopath, but also a genius, in my opinion, created resonance remedies. And they were frequency created, and they have been using them in Africa for at least the last 20 years with great ongoing success. This was another form of energy use in the area of healing. And we'll put their website URLs in the chat box for you. Now, another revolution, or I may call it an evolution, is the path taken by my friend Roman Bucheminsky. It is the path of frequencies using homeopathic principles, using the energy which exists in all things, using it in a way that can benefit humanity. I have a short homeopathic case here supplied by Roman, who was kind enough to send it to me to illustrate how the frequency remedy worked. And with the present war going on, it's a good place to see if a remedy is going to work, especially one that is just based upon frequency. So here's the case. He said a retired Israeli woman who lives in Israel approached the table at the volunteer center where I was receiving people who wanted homeopathic help. She was very compressed. She speaks with caution. She squeezes out of herself every sentence. It's slow. She says, it's like I am in a never-ending, constantly repeating movie, unquote. She showed me a video on a mobile phone, which was filmed at a distance of tens of meters, right in front of her house. A real bloody battle was taking place in front of her. With trembling hands, she shows the video she recorded that day. Quote, I hear sirens all the time. And real sirens even more bring me back to that day. Unquote. Strong anxiety rises from the stomach to the chest and the heart. The heart begins to beat very strongly. And she says, in fact, I have been living in Douro for 28 years, and I am in a state of post-traumatic shock for many years now and have been undergoing treatment there. Every time an explosion, shelling, or siren can raise these alarms. We live opposite a police station that was attacked by terrorists, captured, destroyed. All of this happened in front of us. Sometimes I have the feeling that I can't move. It's like I'm paralyzed. Anxiety often leads to migraines. End of quote. Aconite 1M was prescribed in the form of a homeopathic frequency for her. She says afterwards, quote, "The very next day I felt better," unquote. 2 days later, we met again. Firstly, when she saw me, she smiled, took a few quick steps toward me, and we hugged. It was as if she had unfrozen. She says, "I smile a lot more. My cheerfulness is back. I'm more focused. I get a lot more done. I feel like I've escaped from some kind of ball that was surrounding me," unquote. That's the end of the case. I might add that I have been working closely with Roman in various energy means, and his project's frequency remedies are working despite the war. They are giving relief to so many traumatized people. In a war, you can't just drive to your homeopath's office and buy a material remedy that you need. With a frequency, it is created and accessed via a website and can be listened to on a person's phone or computer. We are upgrading how homeopathy can be used in many, many different situations. Homeopathic frequencies are a blessing for humanity, in my personal opinion. Meanwhile, when I would have a new client come to my office to have a case taken, they would sit in a chair next to my desk. I'd have my computer laptop open, my trusty Materia Medica and repertory nearby. The first thing I do is I would look at the client's eyes, and secondly, the tone of their skin. Why? Why would I do that? I found that when they are given the correct remedy, the muddiness in their eyes clears up. And you can actually see the color of their iris. Further, their skin tone, which was usually unhealthy looking, usually a sallow tint to it perhaps, would turn back to a normal, healthy coloring. That is when I knew I had given them the correct remedy after hearing their set of symptoms. How I gave the remedy to the client is important, though. I might settle on 3 different remedies. I would narrow it further by reading in Clark's and or checking out the remedies in my Materia Medica. I would always get a prompt from my chief guide, and he would suggest one of the 3 remedies. I'd still back it up, that info, with some of the above. Settling on the one he suggested, I would visualize the remedy in my forehead and send it to the person's aura. Within 5 minutes, their eyes would clear up, and I could see the color of their iris. The next 5 minutes came a flush of healthy color flooding upward from their neck and into their face. Their eyes would shine, glisten, or have a sparkle to them, no longer having that dead look in them as before. I could see the vital force returning them to a higher state of health than when they had walked in earlier. Those 2 double checks told me that the correct remedy had been chosen. I would give my client a packet of pellets to take home with them. I would ask them how they were feeling before they left my office. They would always say they felt better, more energy. Further, I could see color changes in their aura toward health as well. I was utilizing 2 forms of energy medicine that complemented one another, working together for the health and welfare of my client. Anyone can do this. Remember, it's not special. We all have the same tool set. With our world the way it is right now, I still have the ability to get needed homeopathic remedies to a client of mine anywhere in the world. And because it's heart energy, the love, the compassion of one human being has for another, the person at the other end receives the chosen energy medicine and they improve. I sleep well at night, knowing my family, friends, and clients have been homeopathically helped so that they too will feel better and become well, thanks to this incredible energy medicine of the 21st century. It too has metaphysical qualities that to this day cannot be proven yet. However, despite this dilemma, people continue to get well, regardless of what science doesn't know at this juncture. I will share with you one last vignette from my training years with my father regarding the sending of a remedy from your movie screen or your brow chakra or your third eye and the center of your forehead to your client or patient. And if you want to try out this process of sending it to someone, go for it. This was my first training, my first night. My father brought in a huge glass salad bowl filled with room temperature tepid water into what he called my training room. He also carried a can of 3-in-1 oil in his pocket. This is a USA product, but basically you could use an eyedropper with some olive oil in it just as well. The first thing you have to do is ground yourself. I have an article available as a Google Doc, and we'll put the URL into the chat box for you. After having been properly grounded, he would bring the eyedropper, the 3-in-1 oil eyedropper, 6 inches above the bowl in the center of it. He would squeeze 1 drop of oil into the water. Immediately, there will be a lot of little bubbles of oil that form, and they all race to the inside edge of the bowl and stick to it. My father told me to choose 1 bubble, and with the energy of my mind, pull it away from the side of the bowl that it was attached to. I was confused, and I asked him, how could I do this? He said, close your eyes and visualize a thin gold thread coming from here. And he pointed to the middle of his forehead. And he said, see the gold thread gently wrap around that bead of oil that you chose and draw it away from where it sits. Well, needless to say, nothing happened, and I got a terrific headache out of it. My father was very patient with me when nothing happened. He called me Buzz. That was my nickname, because me and the honeybees were fast friends. But I also did not start speaking until I was 4 years old. And up until that time, I would run around making buzzing sounds like a bee indoors and outdoors. Hence my nickname. He always called me by that, and he believed that names should be something and mean something to us. So to him, I was a honeybee in disguise. This mind exercise took 3 long weeks to produce something. The first week, I got a headache every time I visualized that gold thread leaving my forehead and wrapping itself around a bubble of oil I'd chosen in the bowl. Nothing moved. The second week, my headaches reduced, for which I was grateful. But nothing moved. By the end of the 3rd week, I was really sad. I didn't want to disappoint my very patient father either. Finally, on the 7th day, the oil globule moved. I screamed. I leaped out of the chair. It fell backwards as I jumped up and down for joy, yelling for my father. He came in, and I could barely stand still, pointing at the bowl, telling him how I saw the chosen oil bubble move. He grinned, hugged me, and said that was enough for tonight. It took me about 6 months to not only move the chosen oil bubble from the bowl side, but pull it out, bring it to the center of the bowl, hold it there, and then later I would get the bubble to motorboat around the entire area of the quiet water surface, wherever I wanted to go. In the next year of my schooling, I was at my desk, about midway to my teacher's desk and the chalkboard area. We had a bully of a boy who came in and was always doing something to her desk in order to confuse her or hide papers from her. None of us liked him or what he did to harass her. On this morning, one of the classmates placed a big, beautiful, red, polished apple on her desk. This wasn't unusual because we loved her so much and we wanted to please her. Most mornings, someone had left her an apple. The bully came in right after the teacher walked in. He waited, and I sensed his malice as I watched her. I knew he was going to harass her again. Everyone was seated when he strolled up to her desk, acting like he owned the place. He grabbed the apple, held it up, took a huge bite out of it, and then threw it into the wastebasket as hard as he could, which sat next to her desk. Everyone gasped. I was shocked. So was the teacher. I got angry. I'd had enough of this strutting bully who was cruel to everyone, even our beloved teacher. In my forehead, my movie screen, I pictured him standing next to her desk, and as he backed up, he tripped over the wastebasket and fell hard to the floor. Imagine my shock when it happened seconds later. I was so scared over the results of what I had visualized. The bully hadn't hurt himself, but everyone in the classroom laughed and made fun of him. I was not laughing. I was terrified of what my mind could do if I pictured anything else that might accidentally hurt someone. I spent the rest of the day in agony and fear until I could get home and talk to my dad. He listened, nodded, but wasn't ruffled in the least by my experience. He said I was never to do that again, that we didn't use our mind energy to hurt anyone or anything else, ever. I cried, and he held me, telling me it would be all right, that I had to be aware that my mind was strong now, and so were my thoughts. I learned that I had to think before I spoke, to be patient, and to not hurt anyone or anything with my skill, which is called telekinesis. It's the ability to move things. It took me a decade after that to be careful and watch myself. When I was in my late 20s, I was finally at peace with the whole process, never having used my mind to ever harm another person or animal. I let the gods of karma take care of the situation instead. And I focus only on using it to send a homeopathic remedy to a client or to a client's animal via telekinesis and telepathy. Did you know that the USA has a department in the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, that utilizes remote viewers who use their mind energy to go look into secrets from foreign enemy countries to this day? They bring back a drawing of what the secret was that they saw. That is a skill that comes out of our right hemisphere toolbox too. It's about developing your brain, but in my case, I only use it to send a homeopathic remedy to someone. I've given you a glimpse of my life as an energy homeopath. Homeopathy is an energy medicine. And when you, as a homeopath, are in dire straits without the remedy to send to your client or patient, or they live too far away from a city where they could get to you to buy the remedy from you or the pharmacy. But now you have more options open to you to help relieve the pain and suffering of that individual. In my world, I call it the medicine of love. It harms no one, but helps everything and everyone. I utilize homeopathy on our dog, our plants, our beautiful woodland trees that surround our property. I give a remedy to our watercourse spirit or to the soil if it's depleted in some way. Everything in our world can use homeopathy. I see it as the energy medicine of love and healing. In closing, I'm not the crazy old lone wolf homeopath who is the only one in this world who is doing this type of energy medicine transmission to their clients or patients. Trust me, there's more homeopaths out there in every country who practices variations of the tools I've mentioned. Women and men practitioners use the right hemisphere of their brain more than anyone could ever realize. The reason why they never talk about it? They're afraid of losing their license in their country, perhaps, or being disrespected, or called crazy, or delusionary by other homeopaths, or losing their standing in the homeopathic community, or all of the above. I can speak out about the energy upgrades because I don't care what anyone thinks about me or my skill sets. What I do care about, and the only thing I care about, is relieving a person or animal's suffering and pain. That person or animal does not care how the remedy gets to them, only that it does in a timely manner and it relieves their symptoms. And no homeopath or homeopathic pharmacy is going to go out of business because of our other skills are being utilized. People who live in a city have the convenience of both. But what about our rural areas? We have nothing out here. Or it's 50 to 100 miles away from us, and we may or may not own a car, or we can't afford the gas to drive to the city to purchase a tablet or a globule from a homeopath. The best that homeopath usually does is puts the remedy in the postal system and guarantees it a week of waiting before it gets to your client or patient. Why let your client or patient suffer like that. Put yourself in their shoes. If it were me, I would be gloriously happy, filled with immense gratitude, if my humanitarian homeopath sent the remedy via telepathy to me, or told me how to speak into a glass of water with the remedy that he or she wanted me to drink. What I do, you also can do. It just takes practice. That is all. And it's simply another tool in your arsenal from the right hemisphere of your brain to help your client or patient. I love homeopathy deeply because it does just that. It's true healing from the inside out, thanks to the invisible energy applications and to our incredible vital force. In closing, you have just been introduced to some of the gifts that come from the right hemisphere of our brain. And as Albert Einstein said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Now, with frequency remedies you can receive in the email or your tablet or your cell phone, what a wonderful upgrade. And things are going to continue to change and develop. And we're going to use homeopathy in so many other wonderful applications. Thank you for having me.
Eileen, thank you very much. We have several things to share. First of all, there are some questions how practically to do this, and I want to share that we recorded a method of preparation of the remedy, and we will be very glad to share it with you, all participants. And now you will see in the chat the grounding technique that was shared by Eileen before 7th Global Homeopathic Proving, and you can use it. I am using it every day, and you can use it not only for the proving or for the walking a homeopathic clinic. You can use it for your life. It's better to be grounded in our days, and it's better to be grounded in order to explore stars.
That's true.
Thank you very much, Eileen. And I will see, maybe there are some questions to you. Not yet. If you have some questions to Eileen, please write it in the chat. Eileen, there are many warm words of thank you for a wonderful presentation in chat. So, yeah. Let us see. Yeah.
Well, you know, what we talked about is enough to shock everybody into stasis for a little bit, because it's new, but it's as old as humankind, and there's a lot to think about in the talk that I gave. And if they'll just try the speaking into the water, and next time they need a homeopathic remedy, try it. Don't, you know, I really get amused by people who say, well, that'll never work. Well, did you try it? Have you tried it? No. scientifically impossible. Yeah, right. No, it's not. You're not a quantum physicist, and neither am I, but I've used these methods. They work on animals and humans and plants. It enriches the soil. It cleans up water. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as we say. Try it first. Just try it.
And I liked another quote from your talk, as that there are so many homeopaths, they know that it's working, and they know that maybe sometimes other homeopaths are using this, but many of them are still in a silent use of it, or trying to cover it, to hide it, not to tell about it in a public. And the time calls is different. We have to know what is in our power and how to use it.
That's
And
right.
thank you very much for this, Eileen, and thank you very much for being with us. It's 4 o'clock at night at your time, so you are going to sleep.
Oh, I'm going to sleep right away. It's like, I mean, I'm 77 years old and I'm staying up till 3 a.m. And it's like, can I really do this? I need some help.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. We appreciate it very much. Thank you very, very much. You're going to sleep, and we are going for 5 minutes break. And in 5 minutes, we will have Ajit Kulkarni with us with another topic. And you know, Eileen, before you go, to somebody it could be strange that we start the summit from it doesn't matter imponderables or sarcodes, but from some cosmic place, and how to use these cosmic forces and energies here in Earth. So actually, to use these cosmic energies, you know, you have to know these energies, and you have to know what's going on in a planet Earth. So that will be our summit about. Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank
sleep.
you. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.